But part of me is like, you know what? I've got really cute kids.
That's true.
So she kind of can't.
Well, she can't disown me. But I just mean like, will it be super uncomfortable for the rest of the time you're stuck in her house?
Yeah. But that doesn't mean it wouldn't have been uncomfortable for some other reason, you know.
So you're just saying it's better if you have a reason that you know. What would Wendy say?
If she's going to be mad at me, I might as well have a tattoo.
Hi, this is Caitlin.
And this is Sharon.
And welcome to Real Housewives on Real Housewives, where we unravel housewives' story threads and keep the tea flowing.
So chic.
Hold on to your reading glasses.
Today we're digging into Tears of My Mother by Dr. Wendy Osefo from Real Housewives of Potomac.
So this book was written in 2022, and I'm going to read from the dust jacket, but it says, in this powerful memoir, Wendy explores how her Nigerian upbringing has affected her life, her success, and her role as a parent. And also, just so you know, it's really about her and her mother a lot. I mean, That's the main focus of the book and how that relates to her life, past and present and future. All right. What was the best part? What did you like about this book, The Hot Tea?
Just learning about the history of her family, how they escaped war-torn Nigeria.
Yeah.
That was just amazing. And it's one of those things where you really appreciate, you know, the life that we've been given. So,
exactly.
I like the historical part.
Yeah.
What about you?
I wrote that Eddie loves diner breakfasts.
I like how mine was all deep. And yours
I have a
was
deep part too.
Eddie likes pancakes.
I like Eddie. Now I know Eddie likes diner breakfasts. Now we can be friends, okay?
Eddie likes pancakes. I like pancakes. Eddie likes Kayla. I feel like
therefore Eddie likes me. No, and then I also read. Okay, I love the honesty of her relationship with her mom. It was a unique viewpoint, and to contrast like how her biography like followed her mother, and then it was her mother's biography, and sort of the intermingling of that. I thought it was a cool lens for a biography because it wasn't just here was my life. It was sort of like here was my mother's life. Here's how it intersected with my life. Yeah. And then here's how everything has worked out in relation to that. Like it was just, It wasn't just one person. It was almost like you kind of got two biographies, although one wasn't really from that person. One was autobiography and one was just biography. But it was interesting how she joined the two together.
Yeah. It was because she really dug deep into why things worked out the way they did, how their beliefs affected things.
Yeah.
You know, it's a deep book. She's a scholar.
Exactly. This woman's written some theses.
Yeah, I think she has.
What was the worst part? What didn't you like about this book? The iced tea.
So I liked everything about the writing of the book. There wasn't anything about the book itself that I didn't like.
I agree. The book itself was well written.
Yeah. The part that I didn't like because it hurt me was like cringing along with her with stories about her mom.
Yeah.
There were just things she would say about her mom and how her mom was dismissive to her. Or like, you know, oh, if she got a B, like, well, did someone in the class get an A?
I love that line. I thought,
well, then you could have got an A.
Yes.
And like, because I know a lot of times growing up, my parents were really hard on us grades-wise.
Yeah.
And very much like that. Expected to be the best. And if you weren't, why not?
Yeah. No, I thought it's interesting that you said that like you didn't like it because of what it brought up for you. Because that's kind of what I said too. Like I didn't dislike anything. Although she did say me and my 3 kids in the photo section. Why are photo sections allowing people to say me and?
No one's editing the photo section.
Those. It makes me so mad. This is not your personal journal in the middle. Like, no. She's a scholar.
Come on, Wendy.
But, okay, there was a quote, and it was like, I saw a part of myself that I don't really like. And she said, it was when her daughter was in the NICU, and she was mad at Eddie. And she said, I was furious at him, but truly I blame myself. Long ago, I'd convinced myself that if I slacked off at all, bad things happen. Exhibit A, getting kicked out of law school. The one time I took my eyes off the ball, it cost me a career. I told myself back then that I would never do it again, but I left the NICU for one night and let someone else carry the load, and the things were left. Apparently I wrote this wrong. But essentially it was like that she taught herself. She said, I taught myself that hard work was the only safety net we had.
Yeah.
And like, I believe that too. Like I didn't work hard enough. Like things didn't work because I let somebody else do it, because I didn't take control, because I didn't work hard enough. And I was just like, oh my God, that's me.
Yeah.
It just made me So I was like cringing at myself because it was like working myself into the ground is the only thing that'll fix it. That's just what she says.
It was no one's fault.
It was no one's fault. Because
she says Eddie fed the way that Eddie fed the baby. But, if the baby is having those issues.
Oh, absolutely. Might have had it when she was there too.
So, but I could feel like you're saying she's a control freak.
Yes.
And she's like, so to her, it's like, because I wasn't there doing it right.
Exactly. And I do that. Like I completely am like, well, I let somebody else do it. But I'm not mad at that person, but I'm just like, well, I dropped the ball. Yeah. But like there's no room for forgiving yourself. And like when I saw that, I was just like, oh my gosh, that's what I do. So yeah, it's funny that we were both like, it's something that like reflects on something that is hard for our own personal lives.
How long did it take you to finish the book? Did you have to force yourself to read it?
It was a pretty easy read. I think it took me a few days. It was well written, well researched. I mean, it took a little longer to read than I thought, maybe, honestly, but I wasn't mad about it.
I read it all yesterday, one day. Kindle told me it was going to take me 4 hours.
Oh, yeah.
But it took me like 6. So
that's interesting.
Apparently Kindle thinks I'm smarter than me.
Kindle's like, she's a fast reader.
Really like the beginning. The middle was a little slow. Really like the end.
I agree.
So it was a good book.
Absolutely. Were there parts of the book that you thought were disturbing?
Okay, the worst part, especially because I love Happy Eddie. Eddie seems like such a great guy.
Yeah,
just how his family, what's the word? Like
disowned?
Oh, disowned. Yeah. That's the word. Disowned Eddie because he married Wendy. Had nothing to do with their kids.
Yeah,
a lot of their family followed and didn't go to their wedding. Yeah, I just can't imagine the pain of that. It sounds like he dealt with it pretty well because he feels like he wasn't as close to them, but. With Wendy, as close as she is to her family, like, I can't imagine how that would made her feel. And to see...
And to think it's not your fault, but like to think you were the cause.
And to see your kids being disowned. Your kids. That would hurt very much to me. Like, okay, you don't even want to see your grandchildren.
I know because they were was the sister's baby shower. And she said like they just wouldn't even talk to their own grandkids. Like, that's harsh.
That was harsh. What about you? Anything disturbing?
Yeah, I mean, it's not disturbing, but it's just more like an uncomfortableness. But her mom said, like, don't live your life for your children like I did. And you could just see the amount of pressure that was put on Wendy by her mother. And I'm not saying, like, that her mother's a bad person for that, because they were saying that it's in the Nigerian culture to want your kids to have so much more and be so much more. But you could just see that Wendy tied her happiness directly to whether her mother thought it was meeting her mother's expectations.
Right. It was like Wendy's mom told Wendy, you have to do this all great for me to be happy.
Exactly.
And then Wendy can't be happy unless her mom is happy.
Exactly. So then nobody's ever going to be happy.
It all falls on Wendy.
Exactly. And it's like, I think just culturally, because that's a little bit different. Although what's interesting is I feel like you see echoes of your own relationships with parents in this too. So maybe it's not just cultural, but like just to see it to that extreme. And she was kind of like, there was no back talk in the Nigerian culture. And so I think she just felt 100% like she had to be quiet. She had to toe the line and that she couldn't do anything that wasn't asked of her or wasn't approved by her mom. And so that was just the part that I found like a little more disturbing.
Yeah.
What makes this book unique? What's cool about it, I guess?
This is just her life story is so unique. And I'm sure it does a lot of other, first-generation Nigerian immigrants have something similar. But, really just the history of how she told her grandmother and her mom and just the story of their marriages and how her dad left and she went back to Nigeria.
I thought that was really interesting.
And she moved so many times because her mom kept taking different jobs. Yeah. Her life is just very unique.
And she said at one point, like, Nigerian Americans have a higher level of educational achievement than any other racial or ethnic group in the U.S.
Yeah, so that was really interesting.
That was interesting, too. I was like, oh, that's a fact that, like, sets this whole story up for how it runs.
Yeah.
I thought it was cool just the Nigerian experience in America. Okay, so what I thought was cool was that the whole Nigerian experience in America was so unique, but at the same time, you could see, like, the universal qualities of the experience between mothers and daughters. Like, there were moments, I think, throughout where you were like, oh, that's like a mother-daughter experience that I've had. And so you could see these similarities, even though culturally it's very different, and it's not the experience I had. But, like, it just felt so neat to see, like, that within human nature and within, like, human relationships, even if you're in completely different cultures, you're going to see those similarities and how people relate to one another.
Not wanting to disappoint your parents.
Exactly. That's universal. and just like not getting along sometimes and having different expectations out of each other.
Yeah.
I thought that was really cool. I also liked, there was an interesting part where at the very end, she was like realizing at what point do I get to live my life for myself?
Mm-hmm.
And I liked what she said because she kept saying like, what do I owe my mom? And she was like, I owe her gratitude.
Mm-hmm.
I owe her compassion. I owe her caring, but I don't owe her obedience, not anymore. And I thought like, that's a nice way to put it, because those are the things that you want your kids to give you. It's not blind obedience, but it is like compassion and gratitude and caring. And I don't know, I thought that was a cool way to sum it up, like to kind of make the circle.
Yeah, I agree. But it's like because some of the culture is so strict.
How do you get to that point?
Yeah, exactly.
And so she's like that next step in the circle. But
yeah, I loved that part where she wrote like her mother raised her for the world her mother lived in.
Yes.
But Wendy says, I'm raising my kids for the world they live in.
Yeah. And she said, read that again.
Yeah. And it was really well put.
It was.
It's like because her mom brought her over to the U.S., but then she was like certain things like, well, here you're in America, you're America, but don't be American.
But you're not American. Yeah.
Yeah. And then where she's saying, you know, my kids are here, they're American, and like the other American kids, if they want to go be a chef, whatever, I'm going to encourage them to be the best at whatever they want to do. It was interesting.
And I kind of thought it was cool the way she talked about parenting, where she said, instead of saying like, I expect A's from you, I expect this from you, that they would talk about like, how would your life play out, you know, and kind of like visualizing it. Like, when you go to college, instead of saying like, well, if you go to college or if you choose, like they kind of said when, but it wasn't like an expectation. And so sort of like visualize your future in this way without saying, but if you don't do these things, I'm going to be really disappointed in you.
See,
I thought it was interesting.
I took it as I didn't take it as like soft.
Oh,
like,
really?
I took it as like, when you go to college.
Yeah.
Because there's no other choice.
Yeah. Interesting. Like, I felt like maybe she was trying to take that next step up from what her mother said. Like, that her mother was so demanding.
She does.
Right.
Oh,
yes. Then when Wendy with her kids were a little bit more like,
I got that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But not that she would necessarily expect less from them. Like that's still going to carry through. But it's more like she's like, let's manifest it kind of so that they don't feel like it's a forced thing when they get to it. You know, like not. Like, you're going to college. So, like, now when you go to college, like, so that you're just talking in that language so that it's sort of seen as an expectation instead of a demand.
Yeah. What surprised you in the book?
Okay. So, this is something I kind of want to talk about with you because we both have a similar childhood in this way. Her view on moving a lot as a child was that it made you good at change. Like, she was like, oh, change never bothered me. I was great at change. Like, I took the opposite route. I don't like change. Like, we had to change so much that I felt like, where is my, like, static? Like, where... So, like, we both grew up where we moved a lot, and we went to a lot of different schools. Do you feel like Wendy, basically like, oh, I'm so good at change?
No. I always felt like I longed for, like, oh, I've lived in this house since I was 2, and all my family lives here. Like, when I had friends with that situation, I was jealous. It's like, this was their place, where I never felt like, well, I never felt like I'm really from here, because I'd always just moved there.
Yeah, exactly. It's like my kids the other day were like, I'd be so sad if we moved from our house. And then it was like, why? It's just a house. Like, it didn't, like, it, like, I almost couldn't internalize it. And then I was like, well, this is the only house you've ever known. So, okay, I guess I get that. But, like, I don't think it made me better at change. I feel like it almost made me worse at change because I just knew at any point change could be sprung on me and I wouldn't have a choice. And I guess she was more like go with the flow. But when I read that, I was like, well, that was not my experience at all.
I think it made me want stability, crave stability. But then at the same time, when something goes wrong, I'm like, why am I staying here? Like, what's tying me down? I can leave this place. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't feel...
I need to get a little antsy at some point. Yeah, like, gosh, I've been here a long time.
Like, I don't feel the need to stay anywhere.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so I mean, maybe she just means like that change is or more understood than someone who's like been someone their whole life.
Yeah.
But she just was like, kids who move a lot are good at change.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, we're not. Yeah. So, do you have any lingering questions after finishing the book?
Yes, I do. So this goes back to her kids, and when she says she's okay with them, you know, they could be a chef. They just need to be the best at what they do and work hard. I'm curious because you can say that till you're blue in the face.
Yeah.
Your
when
kid
push comes to shove.
They don't want to go to college. They want to go like play the guitar or go to would she really be okay with that? Because to her, education is so valuable.
Yes.
It is so important.
I mean, she's constantly like, I have 4 degrees.
I have 4 degrees. And, education is just something you do for yourself. And a lot of families feel that way. Like my family was very much like, you get an education.
Mine was too.
That's like the biggest thing you can do in your life.
There was no discussion. It wasn't like, are you going to college? It was like, where are you going to college? Yeah.
So what if one of her children just didn't want to go to school or study or just didn't like the educated path? Like they were like a free spirit, just wandering around.
Exactly.
Like going with a carnival or something. I don't know.
Yeah. I'm not sure she'd be as chill about it as she thinks. That's kind of funny because what I said is kind of along the same lines. Because I said she talks a lot about taking what her mom taught her and swerving to modernize and like including emotions. And I said, like, I wish she'd gone into what she does though when that's hard. Because I think it's so great to say, well, I didn't show a lot of emotions as a kid. I'm going to have my kids are going to show their emotions. And they're going to, because I kind of said that, like, I don't know if there's necessarily my parents' fault or just who I am as a person, but like, I wasn't a super like, I'm going to show every emotion. Yeah. Like I was guarded and more quiet. And it's like, I kind of want to say to her, like, you say that, but your experience was not that. And so like, sometimes to me, I'm like, I am exhausted. If one more person throws an emotion at me today, like I grew up not having to have emotions thrown at me. And now my kids are like, emotion. Yeah. And I'm really proud of them. And like, I think that's great. But at the same time, it's really hard for me sometimes. It's exhausting. And like, she can't just go, well, this is the better route and it's going to be easy. Because there are times when you're tired and your natural...
Yeah. You're doing what
your experience comes out. Yeah.
Like what I know is that I just...
Like she kept going, well, I'm just going to do it a different way. And it's like... Yeah, we all say that. Then you have kids. And you realize,
we all say, like, we're not going to yell or they're not going to watch television or stuff like that,
And it's like she just didn't explain, like, how that works in practice. So it's kind of like you said, well, what in practice? Like, what are you going to do if the kid says, I'm not going to college? It's like, what are you going to do when you're like, yay, everyone has emotions, but you're like, I can't have any more emotions today. Like, she just didn't explain how that actually works. And her kids are not just babies. So, I don't know. I was kind of wondering what she meant by that.
That was fireworks.
Fireworks season. Yeah, gosh. Sorry to all the dogs.
No,
listening.
I did not shoot Caitlin. This is not a crossover event. True crime podcast.
How honest do you think the author was?
I thought she was so incredibly honest.
I think so too.
Like that she was so honest that sometimes like I cringed. Like I just felt her emotions and I cringed. Or and
I thought, I bet her mom was not 100% happy with the draft of this. Like, because she kept saying, I couldn't tell my mom. I wouldn't be able to say this to my mom. And I thought, I know. This is a whole book of stuff you couldn't say to your mom. Know. Like imagine you were like, so mom, I wrote this book about our relationship. Here's all the stuff I think you messed up.
I can only picture her mom reading this.
I mean, it's almost like your private conversations with your therapist in a book.
I know.
Like that's rough.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. Did reading the book change how you viewed the author or the Housewives franchise?
So I really liked Wendy. And so I still like her after this. I actually like her the same because I really liked her to begin with.
Yeah.
I had a lot of respect for her to begin with.
This is where I kind of put the Eddie thing because from that season... Initially, they were kind of talking about, well, we don't talk to Eddie's family. Eddie's family's not in the picture when she first came on the show. And I wasn't fully understanding what was going on. And then after this, I understood that issue a little bit more. So I do feel like I had more clarity on that. I also liked when she talked about how hard social media is. Like she said, reality TV is hard. She's like, people think like, oh, it's just sitting and it's talking. But she's like, it's hours of talking. And you have to be on point. You have to be high energy this whole time. You have no privacy. And it's like, I get that people chose it, but like she said, like being entertaining is a skill and it takes a lot of courage to be vulnerable. And I was like, finally, so I think someone summed that up. Like in all the books we've read, no one has said it as well as she said it, I think.
Oh, I did actually just think of something. One thing I thought was interesting and it relates to the franchise is she says she went on the franchise because she wanted to show a successful Nigerian American family. Yeah. And, just their culture and their heritage and how it impacts their life. Yeah. And how she's an introvert. Like how to a lot of women, I would have think, okay, I'm going on the show. It's going to be fun. I have this friend.
Yeah. I'm so social.
I tell people about my life. Yeah. Whereas it was more about like, showing a part of our life versus the relationships of her family versus how she interacts with the other women.
Yeah, that's interesting.
It just seemed like a different lens.
Yeah, you're right. Or like a different motive, not motive, but like reason to be on this show. That's interesting.
Yeah.
All right, should we judge the book by its cover?
Let's judge the book by its cover.
Do we like the artwork, the title, all of it?
So the picture is beautiful.
Yeah.
Wendy looks
and I love the juxtaposition.
Yeah.
It's funny because she said her mom didn't really dress in traditional Nigerian garb growing up, because she said I didn't have to deal with the fact my mom was dressed in the head wrap and everything. So I thought it was kind of funny that she is on the cover, but I like that, the old-timey dress mixed with the new-timey dress. And they both look beautiful.
Yeah. Okay, now here's what I didn't get, and this is because I'm dumb. This is not because of her. It says tears of my mother. Uh-huh. And I was like, what exactly does that mean? Because to me, her mom didn't have tears. Mm-hmm. It would be more demands of my mother.
I know. I thought it was disappointment of my mother. I think she was using tears to say.
The tear. Yeah. I don't know.
I know. I couldn't tell if tears was disappointment or regret. I mean, she kind of ends the book with it. So it kind of felt like that thesis moment where it's it ties into the title. But I feel like it's her life is the culmination of what her mother did want and didn't want, and all of that. I guess it comes off as my mom was disappointed in me.
Yeah, it doesn't come off as a tragic thing.
Yeah, that's true.
At least not to me. Mm-hmm. It didn't.
So maybe tears is a little strong.
Yes, but at the same time, it is. Mm-hmm. She needs a strong statement about her and her mother because they have a strong, interesting relationship.
Absolutely.
So I don't know.
And it needs to be clear that the book is about their relationship and not just a Wendy biography.
So I'm not sure of anything better.
I'm not either, but you're right.
I wasn't exactly sure about it.
No, I would agree with that. All right, Real Housewives on Real Housewives, thumbs up or thumbs down?
Thumbs up. I thought it was really good.
2 thumbs up for me.
Go, Wendy.
Go, Wendy. All right, finally a book we like. We had a few there that were kind of stinkers. So thank you, Wendy, for pulling us out of our complaining zone. Yeah. I'm happy to like a book again. Yay!
I know.
All right. Well, remember, housewives bring the drama.
We bring the receipts.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please hit the subscribe button. If you'd like to help support us, please share it with others and leave a rating and review. Also, visit us on Instagram and Twitter, both at RH_on_RH for fun pictures and polls, or email us at rhonrhpodcast@gmail.com. Thanks again, and remember to stay out of the shade.